These 5 SaaS websites are some of the best websites I've seen in the world. And if you analyze them very closely, you'll notice that they all share the same 5 attributes that I'm going to break down in this video. Now, as somebody who's responsible for marketing, you probably know that building a great product just isn't enough in 2025. What all high growth SaaS companies have mastered is the ability to communicate their product's value in a quick, easy to understand way. And considering the changes we've seen in B2B buying behavior over the last few years, with most of that evaluation process from buyers happening before a demo or before a free trial takes place, your website needs to do more of the heavy lifting than it did before. So by the end of this video, you'll have 5 great SaaS websites you can take inspiration from, as well as the 5 attributes that all great websites share. All right, so let's jump in with website number 1, which is UserGems.com. So what I really like about this website is straight away from the hero section, we can tell what this product is for, right? We've got the use case that's mentioned, which is outbound. And then we've got some primary capabilities that are mentioned here. So identify, prioritize, and engage with buyers using AI agents powered by buying signals and your CRM data. So a bit of a mouthful, but straight away we can see that this product is related to outbound and something to do buying with signals, right? So straight away we've got clarity, we've got focus. If this is not something I'm interested in, I'm going to bounce. If I'm someone who is responsible for outbound and I'm looking for tools that offer buying signals, you've got my attention right away, right? And although this may seem simple, most companies fail to do this, right? From the hero section alone, you just simply can't tell what the product does. Now, my favorite part about the UserGems website is when we get into this solution section where they talk more about the product or how they solve your problems. So there's a key pattern that you'll see across good solution sections. So the first thing here is at the top, it says buy-in signals, right? So this is the feature, a technical attribute of the product. Now by itself, that doesn't tell us a lot, buy-in signals for what does that entail? And so then that's what the gap that the messaging fills, right? So here it says, know who to reach out to, when and why, right? Very plain language. They're not trying to impress us and use big buzzwords, just really simple language that the buyer is going to understand. They then expand on this capability. So here they can say create, enrich, and prioritize accounts and buyers based on relevant signals. And then they list some of those signals out, such as past champions, new hires, promotions. And so they're just speaking in the language of their champion persona here, right? The person that they're trying to attract and motivate to book a demo with them. And then on the right, we have this descriptive visual where we can see this feature, this capability in action, right? So we can see that we've got the accounts, they've got some tagging system going on here, some scoring. So, what's contributing to that score, and then the type of signals that are happening within this account. And then we've actually got the contact level information as well. So we can see, we're finding people within this account, right? So just from this graphic alone, we have a lot of clarity around why I might care about this feature. And then they do this again, the next one, AI messaging is the feature, but the feature by itself doesn't answer that. So what? Like what's the implication of AI messaging? And so then again, just simple capability messaging, emails that your buyers reply to, right? They're not using big words, trying to impress us, telling us they're going to 10x our revenue. And then again, they paint the picture on what that capability is. So combining your CRM data, past engagement and signals, Gem E, which I guess is their AI agent, drafts email sequences. And following a similar theme, we now have the graphic, which is showing this capability in action. So we can see an SVP of sales at outreach. We can see the signals that have been brought in about this prospect. They're a past champion, they're a customer competitor, they're a previous closed lost op. And then we can see how these signals are being used to insert relevant variables to personalize the outreach, right? So just from this 30% of the website that I've scrolled so far, I'm very clear on what this product does and how it benefits me. Now, another thing I like about this page and a commonality between good websites is the secondary calls to action, right? So if I'm more so interested in the buying signals, then I can learn more about that by clicking this secondary call to action, right? So no more spray and pray. This is sort of a common problem in outreach at the moment where people are just sending irrelevant, unpersonalized outreach, and buyer signals is something that solves that. So again, we can see the different types of signals that they offer. And now they're just expanding on why I should care about their signals feature, right? So they're talking about the different types of signals, past champions. The value prop is previous customers are 3 times more likely to buy again, right? So if you're not currently doing this, they've immediately created a gap. You know, you can visualize that opportunity of, wow, well, if we're able to, you know, increase our close rate by 3x, you know, what kind of pipeline or revenue would that help my team generate? And they keep doing that, new hires and promotions. And then again, explain the little value prop. New executives are 2.5x more likely to convert in their first 3 months. Boom. Immediately, my motivation to explore this product in greater detail is going to increase because of that. Now, another thing that UserGems does well is the use of social proof. So we're about 70, 80% down the website here, and they've got relevant testimonials from personas who are probably going to be looking at UserGems as a solution, right? We've got their face, it makes it feel more human. We've got the company name, so we can verify this is actually a real testimonial, as well as the person's name. And we can just browse through these. We can see an impact has been quantified for this one, 18x ROI in closed run revenue, which is a pretty big claim. $28 million in pipeline generated. Again, it's just going to increase the trust in prospects as they're evaluating your product. In the later websites that I'll share, I think they utilize social proof a bit better than UserGems, but overall, I think they're using it in a good way. If I was going to play devil's advocate here and just pick something that UserGems could improve, I think this headline is pretty weak. That actually converts. I think rather than making promises, tell me why that promise can be fulfilled. You know, tell me why your product is better, what makes it unique against competitors, or what's your secret sauce, rather than just saying, hey, you know, my product can help you increase conversions. But overall, I'd say this is one of the best websites I've seen. All right, so on to website number 2, which is default.com. So again, similar theme from UserGems. Straight away from the hero section, we can see what this product is about, right? They are stating the use case, which is inbound marketing, and then they're listing out some specific capabilities, routing, intent, and scheduling. So straight away, I have context about what this product is for and whether it's right for me or not. And then if we scroll down, kind of, don't know if I still class it as the hero section, but then we have this very visual tab section where you can see these individual features in action, right? So we can see the scheduling, we can see the different type, you know, the form that they use, the actual scheduling component that they use as well. Again, similar routing, we can see what that might look like inside the product, right? This is far more descriptive than text on a page, right? I can quite literally see it. And of course, this is more of an advantage if you have like an attractive UI or a very clear, intuitive product, workflows, forms, and enrichment, right? So a very visual description of the product, which is an easy way to differentiate against competitors if they don't have that. Scrolling down then is the solution section. So I'd say this solution section is probably textbook. Like this is sort of the gold standard that you should be aiming for. So similar theme to UserGems, we have the feature / use case up here, inbound scheduling. We then have the capability messaging. So it's action oriented. They're using a verb, automate inbound with enrichment, routing, and scheduling, right? So automate inbound, the thing I care about, and then with the key capabilities that enable that. Just painting the picture with subtext here. So turn new form submissions, leads, and accounts into qualified pipeline, right? So that's the benefit of why you should care about this capability. Obviously, this is going to speak to a very specific group of people. For many people, you know, the impact on revenue from inbound scheduling just isn't really felt, right? So they're clearly speaking to sales-led organizations here where 10, 20, 30% drop-off rate on inbounds, you know, is huge. It can equate to millions of dollars. Secondary CTA again, which then takes you to their inbound solutions page, so I can learn more about this specific feature. And then what I really like about this solution section for default, which UserGems was lacking, is the relevant social proof that, relevant from a persona perspective of the type of persona that would be buying this product, but also relevant to the capability / feature that's being communicated, right? So the testimonial here is about inbound scheduling, We can read this to get more detail if we want. We can see the person, we can see their company, and we can see the impact of this capability quantified all within this very, very small component, right? So very like information dense. And then on the right, again, common theme here, we see this capability in action, right? It's a motion graphic, custom graphic that they've obviously created with an animator. But again, it's just showing how this feature performs. So it's not like a static screenshot or an abstract representation of the product that creates more questions than answers. They're just showing the product in action. Now, if you've got a budget of thousands of dollars, maybe this might be an option for you, but there are better options where you can use products that are far cheaper than that. And I'll put one in the description. And then they follow a similar theme for the rest of their features, right? So similar format, feature at the top, capability, expanding upon that with the subtext, secondary CTA if you want to learn more information, and then relevant social proof here, although they're missing the actual testimony itself, which not sure why they've done that, but we can see, you know, some type of company has had a quantified impact from this feature. And then another thing that I'd say, or the final thing I'd say about the default website is just how nicely designed it is. Now, this is always going to be one of those things where people are like, design doesn't matter. But I think it can definitely help you stand out. I think it can, you know, be the icing on the cake. I don't think a nicely designed website is going to substitute for like a crappy product, but default have a great product. They have lots of social proof. And so I think it does add an extra boost, particularly when you're operating in a competitive market. I think standing out like this and creating these delightful experiences, particularly if you're targeting marketers who kind of love this stuff, you know, business owners might not care about it, but marketers love this stuff, right? They love creativity. I think a little can go a long way here. And I think due to, you know, what we're seeing with ChatGPT and Cursor, I think the barrier to entry for creating great websites like this with animations and, you know, advanced components, I think the barrier to entry is lower than ever. And so, you know, there's really no excuse not to create delightful experiences on your website. Okay, so website number 3 is clay.com. So big fan of Clay, you know, a company that has grown really fast over the last couple of years. You've probably heard of it. Now, Clay's in a bit of a unique position where they're starting to go broader with their targeting, right? They're starting to go up market. They're starting to expand into different use cases. So if we look at Wayback Machine, like a year ago or something, 2023, we can see that Clay was specifically positioning for the outbound use case, right? Scale your most creative outbound ideas, data providers, scraping, you know, send in one-to-one personalized campaigns. They were positioned for the outbound use case. This is something they saw traction there and they doubled down, and that was really their wedge. But over the last year or so, they've got to the point where, you know, they've grown quite fast there. And so now they're expanding into other use cases, hence the broader targeting of go-to-market. Now you can use it for content and RevOps and various other marketing functions, etc. So going this broad in your hero isn't something I would recommend if you're a startup. But really nice social proof. I mean, all the heavy hitters here on their website. And then what I quite like is this social proof, or these logos are interactive. So some of them you can hover over and possibly even click them, and it's going to take you to an in-depth case study. Now, similar from the other websites, the solution section, very descriptive, right? So straight away your attention's drawn to the product visual, the product demo. But at the top, we've got a capability here, which is search 100 plus providers for any data point, no contracts needed. This is a key value proposition of Clay, is that you don't need to use several individual data providers. With Clay, they integrate with them, and so you have everything under one roof, which is quite attractive for some companies. Subtext is expanding on that. Okay, well, what type of data do you have? Contact information, firmographics, technographics. Some relevant social proof at the bottom here with, you know, probably one of the most well-known companies over the last couple of years. And then you can read the case study there if you want to watch it. But what I like about this solution section relative to the others is, although default, the past website, although their solution section was good, they were still using a custom animation. And what that means is typically they abstract certain parts of the product away. And so it's not like a true representation of the product. Whereas what Clay are doing here is they are literally recording the real product. And of course, it's going to be a demo environment, but we can see all the nuance, right? We can see all the different columns and rows. We can see how the enrichment works as they're clicking around, which is just going to provide the buyer a lot of context when they're exploring the product. Here you can see how they're adding enrichment. We explore their product pages where they break down these features individually. Straight away you'll notice a very visual heavy website. We've got the sort of screenshots at the top here. We've got this wide angle video, again showing all of the context, how the variables work within the emails, how you're pulling that data in, how you can just preview your emails, which is a really nice to have feature, how you can run only a certain amount of rows to save your credits. Just so much context and clarity provided into one graphic that would just be really hard work to communicate via text. And then we just scroll down and similar vibe, capability text on the left, and then a product demonstration showing that capability in action. And we can see that throughout there are several, potentially dozens of secondary pages that they're using on the website. Okay, so website number 4 then is incident.io. So similar theme, repeating myself here. In the hero section, we can tell what this product is right away, which is responding to incidents. And there's a bit of wordplay going on in the H1 here, which I think is totally okay. Really that's the difference between messaging and copy, using a bit of humor, introducing that brand tone of voice to give your company some personality. So move fast when you break things, of course, a play on the word of move fast and break things. So I like this visual in the hero section, similar theme from others, where we can see on the left they have this sort of mobile app. So I guess for incident response that's quite important, because especially if you're a bigger company, you want to always be on call, and you want to be able to respond to incidents as fast as possible. We can see this sort of log that's happening inside Slack as an incident is going on, and so you can just see how the product keeps you updated as a user as things are going on. And then we can see a sort of incident dashboard that's happening over here on the right, where we can see some metrics, and then a Kanban board, I guess, of active incidents that are being fixed, right? So really descriptive, just from 5-10% down the page, and I can already see clearly why I might want to use this product. The features section then is a bit unique, not one that I've seen before, although it has the same components. So on the left, very, very visual. So here they're talking about alert highlights. So we can see it's automatically scrolling through these tabs. So if we go to the alerting one, we can see all of these different alerts that are getting routed to specific teams. We can see the scheduling feature. Okay, so cover requests, yeah. So very descriptive, minimum text going on here. They're really just letting their product do the talking, which I think is powerful if you can. And then on the right, we've got this social proof from Intercom, very well-known company. It's going to add a lot of credibility and trust with the website visitor. And so if we click the secondary calls to action, we're now taken to the product pages. So this is about being on call, so alerting, flexible schedules, and reliable paging. So your engineers focus on building, not building workarounds. So if we scroll down, very visual page again, so we can see this seems to be rotating automatically. Paging upgrade that your team has been asking for, so we can see the different alerts that are happening here. And again, social proof would have maybe changed it to a different company if we're using Intercom on the homepage, but well-known company, so it's going to add a lot of credibility as well. And they have this for all of their product pages, so we come over here to incident response Slack. I quite like this toggle at the top where you can swap between Slack or Microsoft Teams, depending on what product you have. So this is quite a nice page, again, very visual. One improvement I would probably make on this page is see these clickable tabs at the bottom here. They're not as obvious as I think they should be. It's similar here on the home page. The tabs are down here. I think we're all trained to expect tabs to be somewhere up the top and click around them, so they might be missing out on potential clicks there, which means perhaps people aren't getting access to information that they otherwise would. Okay, so website number 5, the final website is foreplay.co. So this is a very visual website which kind of aligns with the product itself, which is to do with creative marketing. So straight away we can see the relevant use case, which is going to be managing your creative ad workflow. So we can see some capabilities here. You can save ads. So we've got like this swipe file capability going on. You can build briefs, and you can produce high converting Facebook and TikTok ads. So explicitly state in the channels that this product works for. Ads can be used for Reddit and LinkedIn and all these various other channels, which, you know, if they didn't explicitly name them, you might be questioning that in your head. In the hero, so we're using this visual, you know, very visual product here. You know, this just does all of the talking, right? We can see we're currently on the swipe file page. We can see they're pulling in these companies. We've got like this active status symbol that probably tells me that they're continuously checking for these ads. So it's more dynamic rather than like a static swipe file you might get in Google Drive. We can see you've got some hashtags going on here, or maybe this is how they organize these ads into different swipe files. So really descriptive visual. Nice positioning in this problem section here. So your creative process is a mess. So positioning against, you know, all of these various tools like Notion, Google Drive, Slides, Dropbox, Airtable, and you can actually interact with this as well. So similar to previous websites where using a lot of animations and creativity to stand out. I'd probably make this video autoplay if I was Zach, the founder. And then a lot of creativity going on here, like simple things like this. We've got an autoplay video going on here that is showing us the swipe file feature, which is what we saw at the top. And then we keep scrolling down. We've got some really nice social proof. So here we've got the founder of a creative agency. So of course, this is probably going to be the ICP. And so we care more about what they have to say than some person who isn't the same persona as us. So that's going to add a lot of trust and credibility with the website visitor as well. Then if we go to the product pages, so let's go to Spider, which is one of their products. So very clear language, competitor ad tracking and insights on autopilot. You know, something that you would not have seen across all of these websites yet is like revenue claims, right? Very specific to the job that these products are serving, right? This product is related to the creative ad process, right? So adding your swipe file, tracking competitors, creating briefs, etc. So they're not claiming to increase your revenue. They're just claiming to do that job better than you would otherwise be able to. Really descriptive visuals here I like. So kind of different. They're static. They're not videos, but very descriptive of what they're trying to communicate here. So for example, 24/7 ad library scraper. And we can see in this graphic that we've received a notification that Lululemon, which might be our competitor, has launched 36 new ads, right? So we've got that image that, oh, okay, I can track continuously my competitors. You're going to notify me whenever they launch new ads, right? So just the power of visuals here can paint such a bigger picture than you might be able to get in text. And this theme, you know, follows throughout. We've got the visuals, the wide visuals going on here, just really letting the product do its talking or do the selling, and then relevant social proof coming from people who use the product. Okay, so to finish off the video then, as promised, the 5 common attributes shared across winning SaaS websites that you would have seen in those 5 I just shared. So the first one is clear positioning, right? Who the product is for and why it's different, whether that's through the hero section, making it very clear what the use case is, what the primary capabilities, or throughout the messaging. Easy to understand value proposition. You know, none of them are trying to be clever. They're just using plain language that's easy to understand, not using buzzwords or overly complicated jargon or making, you know, revenue claims, just targeting the specific problems that the product solves. The third one is descriptive product visuals, right? All of these websites were very, very visual heavy. Some of them using static graphics that were still descriptive, but on the best end of the scale, just showing the actual product itself, not abstract representations, but just showing, showcasing the capability that they're communicating through the messaging. Fourth one then is heavy social proof. Now, this is a bit of a tough one because if you don't have it, you don't have it, but it's just going to increase trust with the buyer and give your company credibility. So the best social proof is relevant to the ICP that you're trying to attract, right? If you're targeting marketing managers, it's no use having a testimonial from a salesperson. And the best websites are taking what might be an in-depth case study, but chopping that up and put it into different formats across the homepage, like we saw with default in their solution section. And then finally, common attribute is good segmentation of information. So a lot of these websites, if not all of them, use secondary pages, right? It's hard to cram everything on a homepage, or even hard to cram everything on a secondary page, just an individual one, right? Different people might be coming to your websites. They all care about different things. And so, you know, you need to speak to them in a different way, or maybe as you've built your product, it has all these different features and capabilities, and segmenting that information, whether it's through product pages, use case pages or solution pages can help buyers get answers to the specific questions that they have.